Hi y'all, I'm Allison. I've got a new little thing going on over here on my channel, and that is the rec wheel. Earlier I had asked everybody to name a one book, any book, and put them all on a wheel. Each month I give the wheel a spin and I do a dedicated video to whichever book wins. So for February, our winner was Whitney from Tomorrow's Den, and she had chosen The Thorn Birds by Colleen McCullough. So I will be reading this today, giving you my impressions throughout the book as I make my way through while avoiding spoilers. I do remember that this had a mini-series way back in the day, and it was all the buzz. I didn't watch it back then, so I have no idea what I'm in for, but it should be good. This is a classic. So I asked Whitney to do me a little favor to find out exactly why she chose this book. And instead of me telling you, let's go straight to the source.
Hi, my name is Whitney from the channel Tomorrow's Den, and I am really happy that the book I recommended got chosen for Allison, and that is, of course, The Thorn Birds by Colleen McCullough. And yeah, I recommended this one because I had read it in December. December is my mom's birthday month, and she had recommended this book for me. So there were some books I wanted to read in December because it's her birthday month. And this was one of those. My mom's not a huge reader. She never has been. This is a book that has stuck with her, and I'm glad I finally got to it. This book was so good. It definitely is denser and slower pace, which depending on the book I don't typically love. Like, I love books that I can just fly through and get read, where this one I definitely had to take my time with, but it was really good. It's more of a family saga. Like, people think of this as a romance. It's really more of like a family saga. You're following this family, mainly the one daughter Maggie, from the time she's a little girl all throughout her life, and they have like a sheep station in Australia, and you're following them through the highs and the lows and everything like that. There is a priest, and that's where the romance come in. When he meets Maggie, Maggie is still a child, but he's very drawn to her. And then as Maggie gets older, that's where the romance starts to come in when she's an adult. And there's kind of that question because he has vows that he can't break. And so it's like, even though he loves her, he can't break his vows. And then so you kind of have that question, like, is there love enough? Is he going to leave the church? Or even if he did, like, is that really fair? Because it's such a part of who he is. Like, could they ever be happy? So you kind of have that question of what's the right thing and what's okay. But yeah, it just follows Maggie and her family throughout her life. And it is really good. Like, it hooked me from the beginning. It still has stuck with me. We're almost to March, so almost 3 months later, and it's still stuck in my brain. So I really hope Allison enjoys it as well. And if any of you pick it up, I hope you enjoy it, because it really is good. And like I said, it's more of a family saga. The romance is there, but it's kind of, because it's so forbidden and such, it's kind of more on the back burner. But really, really great book. And that's all for me. Bye.
Okay, Whitney, you've got me really hyped up for this book. I'll admit, I was a little apprehensive because I was raised Catholic. My mom went to Catholic school. My grandmother had pictures of the Pope all around the house. And I'm not necessarily practicing now. I don't go to church regular or anything. But of course, that is a big part of my upbringing. So for that reason, this book has had very much a taboo feeling for me, or the movie and everything. It's one of those that's like, oh, because you add the whole priest aspect, and it just fundamentally feels very, very wrong for me. So I was a little apprehensive, but knowing that the romance is kind of on the back burner and this is more about the family, I'm excited for this, especially once we add in all of the Australia aspect of it. So all right, I'm going to go dive into this book. Whitney has given me 4 stopping points, so each time I hit one of those, I will come in, let you know what I'm thinking about the book so far, and keep you updated on my progress. All right, I'm going to stop yakking, go grab my book, and get to reading. I'll see y'all when I hit the first stop. I'm back, and I kind of blew through that first stop. I'm actually on the second one, and that's because my husband switched from working mornings to now he's working like the graveyard shift. So everything's a little out of whack as he gets adjusted to sleeping during the day instead of at night. And I've been hesitant to film because I don't want to disturb his sleep to where he couldn't get back to sleep, and then the poor man's exhausted when he goes to work. So I didn't really have an opportunity to film the first stop. I was going to, I had every intention, but then I kept reading, and now it's all kind of meshed together into one big block, and I don't know what happened in what portion. So we're just going to simplify it, and we're going to say I'm on page 261. It started out really great. I was pleasantly surprised because, like I said, I went into this a little apprehensive because of the religious aspect, and I am so involved in Maggie, who's our main character. She's 4 at the beginning, and her family. It's just, you're getting a glimpse of their everyday life, and it's not an easy life, but yet it's okay. And I really appreciate how we're being shown. It's not being spelled out for us. It's not a telling thing. The description and the slower pace and everything, I don't mind it at all. And I can tend to get a little impatient with books. And I'm really enjoying the more laid back approach to it. And the characters kind of span the spectrum. You've got some really good ones. You got some little gray, and then there are a couple that I'm just not particularly enjoying at all. But I like that because you've got all aspects in the book. Get to see a little bit of all sides of humanity. Now, in regards to the romance aspect, the priest and Maggie. Okay, so this is hard without spoilers. So we're going impressions. There are times where I've been a little like, not necessarily complete ew, but things bordered on uncomfortable and inappropriate. But I think that is the intent of the author. Ralph is the priest, and he's Maggie as a child just kind of pulls at his heartstrings. You know, he has compassion for her. That's what it is. But as she grows up, his compassion starts to feel a little on the I don't uncomfortable side. We'll say that. There's nothing inappropriate going on or anything like that, but it just has a touch of, I don't think this is quite right. That may be my background, which is why I mentioned at the beginning that, you know, this isn't the behavior of a priest. So I'm curious to see how that's going to affect my reading enjoyment of this book. We will see. I am really caught up in this family, though. They've got some hardships, but they're not down and out completely. And they soon find that they've got a new, unexpected opportunity, and they're going to end up in Australia, out in like nowhere. I mean, they are out in the six, past the six. There's not any. It's way out there, so completely out of their element, and they're adjusting to this new life. And I find that part fascinating. Like she said, there's like this big sheep farm, and we're talking big. So reading about all of that, I'm thoroughly enjoying. I will say that there was, I think it was at the end of the first stop, I was tempted to DNF the book. I think if I was reading it on my own, I would have, because I was definitely uncomfortable with the priest's actions. I know that. But I was like, okay, you know what? Whitney loved this book. I know this one's very beloved. It's got quite the following, especially from back when I was younger. So I was like, I will continue on. And I'm glad I did, because then it kind of turned and I got really involved in the story that the emphasis went off from Maggie's relationship with the priest, and there was some drama started happening where we kind of almost get like a soap opera vibe. There's a lot more going on than I thought. I thought it was going to be just a completely slow paced, forbidden romance, but oh no, there's some action, there's some drama, and questionable motives for people. So once I hit that, I was like, now I know I'm gonna continue through the book, even if there's times where I get quite angered by it. And I don't even know if it'll be angry, but I know this book is gonna elicit reactions from me. There we go. And that's a good thing. It's one I think that could definitely spark a lot of conversations. I wish this had ended up being one of our buddy reads, because I could imagine the comments. We would have been like, yeah. So I am going to stop blabbering on, because I feel like that's all I'm doing. I will say I've had moments where I was angered and wanted to DNF the book and not continue. And I think that was probably around the 30% mark. And then there's moments where I'm just like on the edge of my seat. I need to know what's going to happen next. I'm getting more and more pulled into the family dynamic. And they are having their fair share of heartbreak. And it's just, I am so invested now, and I want things to go well for them. So we're going to leave it at that. I will not read past my next stop, and I'll be back in a more timely manner instead of trying to piece everything together. I finished reading last night, and it's a little bit later in the day. So, yeah. I'm having trouble articulating today. I have a feeling this is going to be all over the place. So, we're just going to recoup from here. I'm enjoying the book with some trepidation. So, and yeah, I'm going to say, I don't like the priest. I don't like him at all. Nope. But you know what? I think that's okay, because he does make a very interesting character. All right, I'm going to get back into this. I don't know that I'm going to finish this before the month is over, because it's now February 29th, and I'm okay with that. So this may trickle into March. We will see. I might just get so caught up in it that I can't put it down today. All right. I will be back later and let you know what I think at our next stop, which will be on page 388. So I won't be going too terribly far. I've got this much to do. So I will come check in with y'all when I've reached that point. So I've made it to page 388. We're on the next stop. And I'm really thinking I should probably do these videos with spoilers instead of trying to avoid them, because it's really hard to give my full opinion on the book when I'm trying not to give anything away. It's kind of, I'm fighting myself. That being said, I am not enjoying it right now. It's kind of an emotional roller coaster for me. When I start to really get involved in the story and am enjoying it, then something will happen, and it's just like this little roller coaster, and it just goes downhill. Right now, I am in a big descent. I am not liking it at all. I will say that we are on Luke's portion of the story, so if you've read it, you probably know exactly why I am struggling with it at the moment. And there's another one. It seems like, other than a couple of family members towards the beginning of the book, all of the men are despicable. I hate all of the men. And I don't like books where that's the case. And now that I think about it, I don't know that the women are that much better. Just saying. So, choices have been made. Bad choices. And pretty much it seems like the crux of the book is living with the choices that you make. I think that's what it's about when you get down to the bare bones. I am still invested in it, but it angers me, which I think is marks of good writing, because it is eliciting a response. So there is that. I will say that. But yeah, not. I really didn't see anything redeemable or enjoyable in this last segment. But I will plow through, and if I'm completely 100% honest, I am plowing through. I think this one is just not going to be for me. Maybe my opinion will change, but I really don't think so. It started out better for me at the beginning, and then it keeps going down, and then I'll kind of level, and then it goes down. And so I tend to avoid the hard-hitting emotional books to begin with, and I wouldn't necessarily call this one hard-hitting, but it's not something that I particularly seek out. All right, I know I'm just kind of talking in riddles and running in circles, so I'm just going to get back to the book. I will say this. I hate Luke. And Maggie's not much higher on my scale right now based on the choices that she has made. There. I don't think that's a spoiler. I think that's safe to say. So there's where I stand on the book at the moment. I still have quite a ways to go, so I'm sure a lot will happen. I will be back in a little bit over 100 pages, I think. The next one is at 479, so hopefully it'll change dramatically for me. We will see what happens. I am liking the Australia part of it, so that part is good. Okay. I just made it to the next stop, page 479. I have my pajamas on now, complete with toothpaste. It's proof that I brushed my teeth. But the relationships in this book are so toxic, and it seems like nothing good ever happens to anybody. It's just life will even out. The hardships will lessen a little bit, and then we get another tragedy. And then it's just like, again, they just trudge on in tragedy. There is a point where World War II is a small part of this, and it's not really a spoiler. But that's kind of like a break from all of the bad things. And when you get a break by going to war, it's just... So I don't like seeing my characters go through so much, especially without something in between. You know, there's not really any moments of joy. And if there are, they've been overshadowed because, you know, I just hate seeing my characters suffer. So one of the saddest things that I find with it is the relationships between mothers and daughters. You know, we've got Maggie's own mom, very withdrawn, very stoic, and she's like that Maggie's whole life. There's definite favoritism between the kids, and Maggie is the only daughter, and her mom just couldn't be bothered with her. They finally had a conversation, and I think it was the only conversation, and it was just terrible. It was just brutal. And Maggie's mom tells her that, you know, while daughters are supposed to be special to a mom, they're really just jealous of each other. And it's just like, dang. So I don't know. I am interested in this story, but it's just, this isn't something that I normally gravitate towards. So I don't know how I'm feeling about it at the moment. After I read that conversation between Maggie and her mom, I was just like, I hate this book. But then as soon as I put it down and kind of like, not disgust or anything, but I just like need a break from it, then I find the characters, they're sticking in my head. So Whitney, I can definitely see where you would feel the same way. I know they're going to live with me for a while, because it's just, you can't help but feel for them, even if you don't like them. And I don't think I like any of them. So I don't know. I've got about 200 pages left. I think I'm going to try and finish this tonight. So maybe I can actually finish this during the month of February. Today is still the 29th. That might be part of my problem too. I'm getting hit with so much tragedy because I only started this book yesterday, so I'm kind of like speeding my way through it. And I think it's definitely one that you want to take in smaller doses, spread out over a little bit more time. But at the same time, I want to know what's going to happen. So I'm going to go back to this and see if I can finish this before bedtime. If I do, I will be back. Well, regardless, I'll be back when I finish. We'll just have to find out when that will be. Okay, bye for now. Maybe in the last 200 pages, something good will happen to them. But I doubt it. Who knows? All right, it's March 1st, and I finished it. So I had so many mixed emotions with this book. And Whitney, thank you, first of all, for pushing me outside of my comfort zone, because this book was definitely not on my radar. And, you know, I think I enjoyed it. I did spend quite a bit of my time kind of grumbling at our main characters. I don't know that I was necessarily a fan of any of them, to be honest. But yet, I did enjoy the book. I can definitely see where this will be one that'll stick with you. For when you spend so much time with them, it's like 50 years with this family. And you do feel like you get to know them. But that doesn't mean they didn't infuriate me at times. Especially the women. I wish they would have championed each other more. They didn't at all. Which is a shame, but at the end, they did come together, so I was glad to see that happen. I think that's what kind of saved the book for me, because I did kind of have a love-hate relationship as I was reading it. I never warmed up to Ralph. I don't see him as a romantic figure at all. I don't know. He is, the priest in the story. So there was a blurb on here comparing him to Rhett Butler. No way. Not even close. In fact, I've seen where Thorn Birds was compared to Gone with the Wind. It's Australia's version of Gone with the Wind. And I can kind of see where they would get that, because it did. I don't know if it's because that was just planted in my head. But I really want to read Gone with the Wind now. I think from seeing Rhett Butler's name and hearing that comparison, it's like, I much prefer Gone with the Wind. Not saying that I had a bad time with this, but I don't know that it was 100% for me. I think I'll probably end up giving this a solid 3. It definitely took me on a roller coaster of emotions, and again, trying to avoid spoilers here. Some of the characters I liked more than others. The misogyny aspect of it was, that was really a focal point, it felt like, especially from the women's point of view, where they did reference it quite a bit, especially in light of the church, the women being the downfall, and, that whole stigma that used to exist with the church, especially like the Catholic faith. I don't think that is the case any longer. At least I would hope not. Again, speaking as a woman who was raised in the Catholic Church, but I know that bias did exist, and during the time span of this, which was the early 1900s up to, I think, 1965 or so, they would have felt it a lot more than I did during my life. There really weren't any good male characters either, so it really kind of played up the stereotypes of, the difference between the sexes. Again, fitting with the time zone, but I don't know that I personally connected with anybody. I did still enjoy the story, and I do think it's worth the read. I probably definitely would have enjoyed it a little bit more if I had taken a slower pace with it, because it After a while, it got to be, if things were starting to look up, disaster was around the corner. And that does fit with the title, because at the very beginning, it tells you about this legend with the Thorn Birds. So she tells you right from the get-go, things are not going to go well for the family in this book. Because the thorn bird is this bird that legend has it as soon as it's born, it begins seeking a thorn tree. And it does not rest until it finds one. And then it impales itself on the longest branch that it can find. And that's the only time this bird will sing. Because it says the best is only bought at the cost of great pain. Or so says the legend. Yeah, it can be quite the downer at times. And those aren't books that I gravitate towards at all. I tend to go towards the lighter side. I want to be pulled out of daily cares with my books. So for that reason, this one is out of my comfort zone. And I'm sure others would potentially enjoy it much more than I did. Again, not saying that I didn't enjoy it. So thank you, Whitney. I am glad that I read this book. It's one that I was very familiar with before I even picked it up, from all the hype back in the 70s and the 80s with the miniseries. And I did enjoy my time with it. If anyone else picks up the book, I would love to know what you think about it. I know Whitney and her mother really love this, and I'm curious to see what everybody else's take is on it. I would recommend reading it. It was worth my time. All right. I will see y'all hopefully day after tomorrow with, I have no idea what's next. But if you want to see what March's Reckwell book would be, then check out this video because it will be within that one. All right. I hope to see you later.